Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Smartboard December 18, 2023. How smart speakers could detect domestic violence. Corporate culture clash as baby boomers and Gen Z struggle to communicate at work. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court, to lie in repose. That's a wrap. Bryant Gumbel and HBO's Real Sports air their last episode after 29 years. Smartboard December 18, 2023. Yahoo! Santa Fe Community College and Northern New Mexico College are closing their campuses for winter break. Santa Fe Community College will be closed from December 18 to January 2, and Northern New Mexico College will be closed from December 16 to January 1. In other news, 2 teachers from New Mexico were among 75 educators across the U.S. to be honored with the 2023 Milken Educator Awards. Finally, Eastern New Mexico University has hired Christy Johansson as its new Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. How smart speakers could detect domestic violence. ABC. Researchers at Monash University have suggested that smart speakers could be used to detect intimate partner violence in Australian homes. In a report titled "Should We Embrace Big Sister?", the researchers suggested that the use of the devices could be an unprecedented opportunity to help victims of domestic violence. However, the study also noted numerous ethical considerations, including the potential for false positives and negatives, and the possibility that using smart speakers could remove pressure from the government to address the root causes of domestic violence. The study noted that 1 in 4 Australian homes use smart speakers. Corporate culture clash as baby boomers and Gen Z struggle to communicate at work. Telegraph. Managers in the UK are struggling to communicate with younger employees, with some avoiding conversations altogether for fear of saying the wrong thing. The increasing generational diversity in the workplace, with 5 generations working together, has led to a breakdown in communication. Older male managers are being given lessons on how to converse with younger colleagues, while younger workers are pushing back against what they perceive as a bizarre corporate environment. The article argues that businesses need to foster mutual understanding and empathy to bridge the communication gap and create a harmonious workplace. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court, to lie in repose. Associated Press. The late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court and an unwavering voice of moderate conservatism for more than 2 decades, will lie in repose in the court's Great Hall on Monday. That's a wrap. Bryant Gumbel and HBO's Real Sports air their last episode after 29 years. Associated Press. HBO's Real Sports has aired its final episode on August 24, 2021, after a 29-year run. The show won awards for pieces on corruption at the International Olympic Committee, labor abuses as Qatar prepared for the World Cup, concussions in sports, and children forced to be jockeys for camel races in the Middle East. Host Bryant Gumbel is 75 and at the end of a contract, and HBO is now controlled by a company, Warner Bros. Discovery, that is looking for cost savings. The fear is that a form of sports journalism is leaving for good. Iconic Justice Sandra Day O'Connor was more than a trailblazer, she was a dear friend and mentor to these Utah lawyers. Yahoo! As Utah's Ronald Anderson Jones and Denise Lindbergh join the line on the steps of the Supreme Court Monday morning as the late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor is carried to the court's Great Hall to lie in repose, you have to wonder what they will be thinking. For them, it's personal. Each served a term as O'Connor's law clerk, and their professional relationships and friendships with the justice endured for decades after that. The country has lost an icon and a trailblazer, and I've lost a mentor and friend, said Anderson Jones, who after clerking for O'Connor in the court's 2003 to 2004 term, teamed with her to teach a course on the Constitution at the University of Arizona's College of Law. Iraq holds first provincial elections in a decade. The Globe and Mail. Voting has begun in Iraq for the first provincial council elections in a decade. The ruling Shiite Muslim alliance is expected to maintain its hold on power, as populist cleric Muqtada al-Sadr is boycotting the elections. The results of these elections will set the stage for parliamentary elections in 2025. The previous local elections were held in 2013 and were postponed due to the war against ISIS. Sadr's rivals are likely to take control of most local councils, consolidating the power of the ruling Shiite alliance. The alliance already forms the largest bloc in parliament. The elections will select 285 council members in 15 of Iraq's 18 provinces. Elections in the Kurdistan region are expected to take place next year. Chile rejects second attempt to renew constitution. Deutsche Welle. Chileans have rejected a conservative constitution drafted to replace the country's dictatorship-era text. With 99.65% of the vote counted, 55.76% voted against the new constitution while 44.24% voted in favor. President Gabriel Boric said the results showed that the process didn't channel the hopes of having a new constitution written by everyone. The draft constitution was written by the far-right Republican Party and was the second attempt to replace the constitution written under military dictator Augusto Pinochet. The vote for potential reform came after large-scale protests against inequality in 2019. Like Christmas came early, WA students' adder reactions broadcast to the world. The Sydney Morning Herald. Students in Western Australia have celebrated the release of their ATAR scores, with many capturing the moment on social media app TikTok. Some students achieved scores higher than they expected, while others expressed disappointment. However, former students also took to social media to say that ATAR results do not determine success and that they had built successful careers despite their scores. The Tertiary Institutions Service Centre announced that ATAR participation rates in Western Australia had dropped to just 28.08% this year, the lowest in the country. Study bolsters evidence that severe obesity increasing in young U.S. kids. The Toronto Star. A new study published in the journal Pediatrics has found that severe obesity is becoming more common in young children in the United States. The study looked at children aged 2 to 4 enrolled in the Women, Infants and Children (WIC) program, which provides healthy foods and services to preschool-aged children in low-income families. The researchers found that the rate of severe obesity in these children had increased from 1.8% in 2016 to 2% in 2020. The increase in severe obesity rates is concerning as it is associated with chronic health problems and an early death. Big Trout gets makeover in its 50th year as Australia's obsession with big things continues. ABC. The Big Trout, an iconic roadside statue in Adaminaby, New South Wales, is celebrating its 50th birthday with a fresh coat of paint. Originally constructed in 1973 by artist Andrew Lomnasai, the statue has recently undergone extensive repairs to restore its deteriorating condition. The restoration was funded by a state government grant of $318,000. Australians have a fondness for large monuments like the Big Trout, as they evoke nostalgia and represent local identity. These giant landmarks are often visited by generations of families, creating a generational relationship with the objects. This BC farm fights food waste. It's at risk of shutting down amid rising costs, says owner. CBC. Canadian social enterprise Refeed Farm is seeking financial help to keep its food waste reduction operations going. The company takes discarded food from grocery stores, restaurants and other food retailers and sends it to food banks or sells it at a low cost. The farm also turns food not used by food banks into animal feed and soil enrichment products. Founder Stuart Lilly said Refeed had used its entire 11 million pounds of discarded food rescued last year, but rising costs and the loss of a key investor had put the operation at risk of closure. UX student rally shows both protest, support of UW System Board of Regents' recent vote. Yahoo! Students at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire protested against a decision by the UW System Board of Regents to cut back on diversity initiatives. The board approved a deal that would allocate more funds towards pay raises and project funds. The decision to cut back on diversity initiatives has been met with backlash from students who argue that diversity is an important part of the university experience. WIS legislatures discuss UW System Board decision to freeze DEI, boost state funding. Yahoo! The University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents has voted to freeze funding for the Division of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, DEI, for capital funds. This decision has sparked a discussion among legislators and local businesses. The freeze on funding for DEI capital projects has been met with criticism from some who argue that it is an attack on diversity and inclusion efforts. However, others support the decision, claiming that DEI initiatives have become politicized and that funding should be allocated based on merit rather than identity. The freeze on funding for DEI capital projects will not affect funding for DEI operational expenses, which will continue as planned. The future of DEI funding in Wisconsin remains uncertain, as legislators and businesses continue to debate the issue. Pessimism abounds in Hong Kong's property market even as rate outlook improves. South China Morning Post. Home prices in Hong Kong are expected to drop next year, with CGS-CIMB Securities predicting a 3% fall and UBS forecasting a 10% decline. Despite positive interest rate outlook, analysts predict property prices will slip further due to factors such as abundant housing supply and high interest rates. However, demand from mainland Chinese buyers and rising rental yield should provide some support for home prices, according to Raymond Cheng, managing director at CGS-CIMB Securities. That's all the news for today, folks. Let's recap what we've learned. Santa Fe Community College and Northern New Mexico College are closing for winter break, giving students and faculty a well-deserved break. Researchers at Monash University have suggested that smart speakers could be used to detect intimate partner violence, providing a potential solution to a widespread issue. In the UK, there is a communication gap between baby boomers and Gen Z in the workplace, highlighting the need for mutual understanding and empathy. The late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor will lie in repose at the Supreme Court, marking the loss of an icon and trailblazer. HBO's Real Sports has aired its final episode after a 29-year run, leaving sports journalism in a state of uncertainty. Chile has rejected a conservative constitution, showing that the process didn't meet the hopes of the people. Western Australian students celebrated the release of their ATAR scores, reminding us that success is not determined by a single exam. Severe obesity is on the rise in young children in the US, raising concerns about their health. The iconic Big Trout statue in Australia is celebrating its 50th birthday with a fresh coat of paint, a testament to the country's love for giant landmarks. Refeed Farm in Canada is in need of financial help to continue its food waste reduction operations, highlighting the challenges faced by social enterprises. Students at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire protested against the board's decision to cut back on diversity initiatives, emphasizing the importance of diversity on campus. Finally, home prices in Hong Kong are expected to drop next year, despite a positive interest rate outlook. Now, let's dive deeper into these stories. The use of smart speakers to detect domestic violence is an intriguing idea, but it also raises ethical concerns. False positives and negatives could have serious consequences, and relying solely on technology might divert attention away from addressing the root causes of domestic violence. In the workplace, the generation gap between baby boomers and Gen Z is creating communication challenges. It's essential for businesses to foster understanding and empathy to bridge this gap and create a harmonious environment. The passing of Justice Sandra Day O'Connor is a loss for the Supreme Court and the country as a whole. Her impact on the court and her role as a mentor to young lawyers will be remembered. The end of Real Sports is a sad moment for sports journalism. The show's in-depth reporting on important issues will be missed, and it remains to be seen how sports journalism will evolve in the future. The rejection of the conservative constitution in Chile is a significant moment in the country's history. It shows that the process didn't capture the aspirations of the people and highlights the need for a more inclusive approach. The celebration of students' ATAR scores in Western Australia is a reminder that success is not determined by a single exam. It's important to remember that everyone has their own path to success. The rise in severe obesity among young children in the US is concerning. It emphasizes the need for interventions to promote healthy eating and lifestyles from an early age. The restoration of the Big Trout statue in Australia is a reminder of the country's love for quirky landmarks. These monuments hold a special place in people's hearts and create a sense of identity and nostalgia. Refeed Farm's struggle to continue its operations highlights the challenges faced by social enterprises. These organizations play a crucial role in reducing food waste and addressing food insecurity, but they need support to sustain their efforts. The protest against the cutback on diversity initiatives in the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire is a powerful reminder of the importance of diversity and inclusion on college campuses. It's crucial to create an inclusive environment where all students feel valued and supported. Finally, the predicted drop in home prices in Hong Kong reflects the challenges faced by the property market. Despite positive interest rate outlook, factors such as housing supply and high interest rates are expected to contribute to the decline. However, there are still some factors that could provide support for home prices, such as demand from mainland Chinese buyers and rising rental yield. And there you have it, folks. That's a wrap for today's news. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on these stories. Do you have any ideas or suggestions for using smart speakers to address domestic violence? How do you think businesses can bridge the communication gap between different generations in the workplace? What are your memories of Real Sports and its impact on sports journalism? Feel free to join the discussion and share your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of news. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.